episode of Literary Gladiators, the show where we discuss and debate literature in all of its forms. If it's written work, it's games.
It's game.
Let's meet the panel.
I am Ari.
Hi, I'm Jesi.
Hello, I'm Trevor.
And I'm Josh, and today we are going to be going over a Robert Frost poem, and this is one that Jesi suggested, and I have a pretty good idea as to why she suggested this particular one. Alrighty then, so Jesi, you have a discussion starter?
Yeah, sort of. I felt like this poem was, very short, sweet, to the point. However, I kind of wanted to, again, I'm going with a personal opinion question because I like those. When he talks about how some say that the world will end in fire and some will say that it will end in ice, what is your opinion? What do you guys think? You think fire, ice, desire, hate? Like, what's more... I guess...
Does it matter? Is my answer. No, I'm actually serious. Like, does it actually matter? Because I think what this poem is trying to say is that no matter which way, what people do, or no matter what they want, that's just the way it's going to be. Like, if you're reading it, like, I'm reading off your phone right here.
No,
if it says right here, like, I think I know enough of hate to say that for destruction, ice is also great and would also suffice. I think you're basically saying that, hate's always going to be there, and there's going to be different ways that people, like, different ways of hatred to be cause and effect, almost.
Yeah, but, at the beginning of the poem, he talks about how he's, from what I've tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. So, again, yes, there's always hate, but there's always passion, there's always love, there's always, other things that, burn true in people's lives. So, and I think that's why I went with more of the opinion question, just to kind of see how hopeful or, pessimistic everybody is.
I would like to think that if you had to use both as, like, specifics, fire is more aggressive, ice is more passive, but either way, you can use it in a very negative way. Aggressive could be like, oh, I'm gonna punch you and I'm gonna beat the heck out of you, and I'm gonna get what I want. And passive could be more like, oh, this person's getting beat up by someone else. I'm not gonna do anything about it because I'm not involved in it. So there's like different ways to approach the same problem, kind of.
The first thing I thought about was the same thing that I realized proved to be a heavy inspiration for this poem, according to Jeffrey Myers, who wrote a biography, and that was Dante's Inferno, where that's the first thing I thought about when I thought about ice being able to have as deadly a impact as fire. First thing that came to mind, Dante's Inferno, because according to Dante's Inferno, hell is ice-based, and Lucifer is frozen into the ground from the upper chest down.
Because every time he tries to fly out, it will thaw, and every time he tries to fly out, the breeze from his wings freeze the water, and he's trapped there forever. He can't get away, and he can't do anything. And I think, and I love Dante's Inferno. It's one of my favorite pieces. And that, I think that's why whenever I think of fire now, because of Dante's Inferno, I don't think of hate or aggression. I think of passion. And that's how I see it. It's like when you describe somebody who really wants to do something that they have a passion burning in their eyes, you don't think of, I think of like hate and cold and
I think both have
evil and like Night King, Game of Thrones.
It's almost like it's like a more emphasized yin and yang, where I think fire can bear both a positive and a negative annotation, and ice is the same way. It has that ability to.
It's a really nice way to put it. Yin yang kind of.
Possess a love and hate kind of annotation.
It does. It has a whole Song of Ice and Fire bit to it.
The whole thing with, as far as Jesi's concerned, that's exactly why I felt that she picked this poem, was because of the inspiration that it had with the Song of Ice and Fire.
It warms my heart to know how much you know me, Josh. Because I didn't I have Dante's trilogy, and it's one of my favorite works of all time. It's just it's so it's just one of my favorites, and this did remind me of it. And then of course, you know, when I looked into it a little bit more, and I don't know, I just it's the way Robert Frost kind of, you know, takes these you know, two total opposites and just like melds them together to make like a nice poem. I don't know. I thought it was short and sweet and very, but says so much. And I mean, it spoke to me, and I really liked it. So.
Yeah, I was doing my research. I saw, I was looking at Fire and Ice, and it said influence to Song of Ice and Fire. That's why she chose it.
Yep.
But I think that it does say so much with so little. It is a very basic poem per se, and not in the way it's basic, it's short and to the point. And Robert Frost does that often, and he does it so good.
He does, and I feel like, again, it's just, I mean, such a powerful kind of message, and for those who haven't read it, it's like, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 lines. Very quick read, but it speaks so much, you know, and again, that's why I went with the personal question. I feel like, you know, how your kind of take on his question, or underlying question, some say the world will end in fire, some say in ice. And I feel like it tells you a little bit about yourself too, like, what do you see more of in the world? Passion, desire, you know, the fight in people, or do you see the hate and the terrible things that humankind has been known to do, or the wonderful things that humankind has been known to do? So
I see it all.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot there, and
I think it's also kind of saying that, like, fire and ice both have their, like, kind of what Josh said, their ups and downs. I think that it's saying, like, ice can suffice is kind of like saying, you know, I prefer, like, me as my personality would prefer fire, but ice can work for someone else, but they do the same damage.
Because while fire is passion and desire, while ice is cold and hatred, if you take you can take a flamethrower and burn something very quickly. It would take quite some time and determination to, unless you're Mr. Freeze or something, you can't really take something and...
I was going to say, fire's going to get rid of things a lot faster.
Yes, but,
that's for sure.
Yeah.
Usually, I would think that a pack of ice would have a lot more stuff in it than just a burning flame. Like, there's a lot more built up in there. And that could lead to the hatred that you're talking about, while the passion could just be something that's fleeting, you know, or burning inside.
No, I mean,
figuratively speaking,
to go off of that too, you know, like, if something's freezing, it takes a long time to freeze, and most of the time hate comes from things that are, you know, sitting inside us and just brewing and taking a long time to take over, and then that's where that aggression comes from. Where you dwell on something and it just like takes over, or it's just where, you know, if you think of something, like, for example, when you saw my Facebook post, I came here, I'm still holding a bit of like aggression of how like I felt, and in the heat of the moment it was done and over with, but now I'm still feeling that like betrayal kind of feeling, and that build up of anger, and I hope
the book I gave you helps you feel better.
Yes, and I do appreciate it, and it's so funny. But I mean, like, all of that drama aside, it's like that's something that, you know, as humans, where that anger comes from is dwelling on something. I mean, yes, people have the heat of the moment reactions, but I mean, if you ever take something that makes you angry or a little upset, and then you sit and dwell on it, you just get angrier and angrier and angrier, and then eventually you explode.
As Josh said, you can also take the stuff that you just described and use it for positive purposes. Like, kind of like Rosa Parks or Martin Luther King or somebody, where they get so fed up with something that they actually stand up and do something about it. I don't know if you saw the most recent season of Doctor Who had an episode where it basically was the story of how Rosa Parks stood up to the bus driver. It was very good episode, and it was it kind of reminds me of like that the anger and the passion that you feel for something that you truly believe in.
Oh, okay.
Definitely something to think about.
I agree. Do we have any final thoughts?
Just notice this one's another example of dichotomies in poetry.
Wondered how many dichotomies Frost was struggling through in his life at the time.
Where was it that you stood on this, as far as Jesse's opinionated question was concerned?
Definitely fire or ice.
Hey,
I don't know.
Trevor, I
Would the
know.
world end in fire? World end in ice? I say neither. It ends in electricity.
Oh no.
Oh,
But that's another story
Trevor,
completely.
Oh, what's
Trevor,
that over
I
there
think
in
it was
left
more of
field?
a
that's
more
an
of a
interesting
personal question, but yeah.
That's an interesting explanation, though. That could, if we're denied of our electricity, or an EMP hits,
Oh yeah,
then we can't really
we're
survive.
in a modern world. How
Watch
would
our episodes.
exactly?
Mm,
We just have to
Game
print
of
it.
Thrones.
To say talk to the void.
mm.
Started. Who would watch Game of Thrones?
Mm.
We would have no ending.
The more we progress, the more we put
Better
ourselves
start
at
making
risk.
a business out of renting
But,
my
like-
library.
Trevor, I can absolutely say, if you're not sure, I can say for you, because I know you well enough, that I think you would definitely go in the ice direction. I can't imagine you getting in the fire flame direction. Like, you're very laid back.
Well, as long as it
passion
doesn't
in your
end
life,
with,
Trevor,
as
no
long as for
passion.
me it doesn't end with the cold.
Yeah, I would die. Yeah,
And
yeah.
so much
Maybe
for
that's
that
why I go
pun.
for the fire.
Albert Einstein
I would
feels
think
that we're going to become
you
barbaric
Jesse, would be
again.
fire.
Yeah.
And
I-
that
I
I
believe
think for
too
me
much
it
in-
just depends. It really depends. It would probably be fire mostly, but I could be ice too.
I
Josh
don't
would
know.
probably be ice as well.
I believe in
I can't
humanity
imagine
too
you
much.
just. You have the passion for literary gladiators, but you're very laid back about it. You're not like, hey everybody, go to literary gladiators. Blah 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 blah. My name's Josh Caporale. Yo, I'm gonna make a rap for everybody.
I think that
Tori,
would
run
have,
out of the room. Get out of here. Get out of here. Hide behind the chair.
I would honestly.
that would have
be
the reverse
concerned.
effect if I did
Yeah,
that.
exactly. That's my point.
These people would.
Because I wouldn't want somebody doing.
You're doing it right now.
Getting this,
And
right?
it's scaring me. So you're right. It does have the reverse
We already
effect.
had another wolf butt.
But
A what button?
Oh, don't worry
Oh.
about it.
Great. Now
Tori-
I'm
Tori
gonna
has-
have Josh
Tori-
going blah 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 blah.
for
blah
some
in my
reason, there's
nightmares.
something that Tori has about my butt.
Okay, for the record, his butt was facing that
I said
way.
we nearly had that
Nearly,
situation,
okay,
and
nearly.
then somebody brought it up.
I still remember that.
But
Welcome back to the discussion.
Alrighty.
Fire and ice right here, guys.
if you're interested in checking out this and Robert Frost's other poetry, here is a complete collection of his poems. That can be found here.
I have that. I have an older version of that. I think upstairs. Like
Yeah,
the
I have
complete
a
works
nice,
of Frost.
beautiful hard copy of his stuff. I just couldn't find it to bring
It's
it
a
with
black book with like white writing on it.
me.
It's
Mine's
like
a pretty
it has like a
blue.
tree on it. I think.
Mine's like a bluish purple. It's very pretty. I wish I had brought it, but
No matter which binding or cover you get for that book, you'll be taking the road less traveled. Brumts. Plug!
You mean the road not taken?
Oh!
Wait a minute, was that the word?
It's called The Road Not Taken, dude.
Ah, oops.
that's
I just pulled a carry on wayward son moment, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Literary Gladiators, and be sure to join us next time. For now,
Keep reading.